Shalom. I have a great story for you today. This is a really, really good one. Okay, the story takes place in a town where there were people, a lot of people lived there. Not a ton of people, not millions of people, but a good amount of people, and a lot of Jewish people lived there. And some of the Jewish people were very wealthy, some of the people weren't so wealthy, and some of the people were very poor. And every week, the Gavite Stucco, the person in charge of collecting stucco, would go around from house to house and ask people to donate some money to help the poor people be able to have food for that week and for Shabbat. And the very, very rich people would give. The people that were average would also give, not as much as the wealthy people. And the poor people wouldn't give. But the Gavite Stucco would go around on Thursday night and he would give out money to people so that they would have to the poor people so that they would have money to buy food for Shabbat and for the entire week. And that's how it went every single week. And everybody gave except for one person. One person refused to give. And he would go every week, the guy by stucco would knock on his door and say, "I'm here to collect money for stucco for poor families." And the wealthy person would get very angry. And he would say, "Why do you keep coming here? I don't understand. I don't want you here. Get away." And he would slam the door shut and don't come back next week. But every week the guy by stucco would go because he said, you never know. One week, maybe he'll do the right thing and he'll give some stucco. And that's what he did every single week. And every single week he said no, got angry, and slammed the door shut. Now, every week, the guy by stucco never told anybody this, but every week he would go around, and every week there wouldn't be enough money for all the poor people. And he would collect, but he would never be able to collect enough. There was never enough money. But he would go to sleep on the night he collected. He always collected on Monday night. He'd go to sleep on Monday night, and he'd be very worried the whole week because there wouldn't be any money, and there wouldn't be enough money for all the poor people to have food in Shabbat. And then he would go on Wednesday night before he would give out the money. Every single Wednesday night, he would go to sleep, shut the lights off on his house, and then on Thursday morning, he would wake up, and every week there was an envelope. There was an envelope full of money slid secretly under his doorway. He didn't know where it came from. And every single week, it was enough money for all the poor people to have food so that he never had too little money, even though when he would go around and collect, he wouldn't collect enough. But every week, there was that secret envelope slipped under his doorway in the middle of the night. Sometimes he even tried staying up the whole night to see who it was every week giving him the money, but he never saw. He fell asleep. He never saw who it was, and then he just gave up. Well, years it went on like this for years and years and years. And then one day something happened. The mean man that wouldn't get stuck to anybody died. He died. And he was mean to everybody. And the Gabite stucco got up that night and he said, "We shouldn't bury him in the cemetery." I said, "What? Everybody gets buried. How can we not bury him?" He said, "He was a mean man who every week slammed the door in my face and would never get stuck up." And they said, "Fine. Well, where are we going to bury him?" "Bury him right outside the cemetery to make the point that if you're mean and you don't give any stucco to anybody ever, you don't get buried with everybody else." So the town took a vote. They asked the rabbi of the town, and he said, "It's true. If it's an evil person, we don't bury him in the cemetery." They buried him outside the cemetery. Well, that week, the guy like Stucker felt he was finally right. He finally got the mean man back for slamming the door in his face. That week, he went around collecting stucco, and he passed the mean man's house, and he didn't have to knock on the door, and he didn't have the door slammed in his face. And he was very happy. Well, that week, he didn't collect enough money, but he wasn't worried because every Wednesday night, there was an envelope. Well, that Thursday morning, he woke up, and the first thing he always did when he woke up on Thursday was go downstairs and get the envelope. He went downstairs, no envelope. He said, what? There's no envelope. What am I going to do? So he quickly got dressed. Even before davening, he ran over to the Rav's house, the rabbi's house, and he knocked on the door. He said, Rabbi, we have a big problem. He said, what's the problem? And he told him the whole secret. And the rabbi said, well, what happened this week that was different? Why wasn't the envelope there? He said, I don't know. He said, well, let's think. What was the only thing that happened this week that was different? And they realized the only thing that was different this week was the mean man died. And the rabbi sat there and he said, oh, do you know who was slipping the secret money under your door? It was the mean man. And the rabbi gathered the whole town. He said, we have to get everybody. We were wrong what we did. And they gathered everybody together. And the rabbi got up and everybody was in the shul. It was the first time the rabbi ever did something like that, where he told everybody they had to get together into the shul. And everybody was in the shul. It was very early in the morning. It was only 7 a.m, but they got everybody into the shul. And the rabbi said, we did something very wrong. We buried a tzaddik, a righteous man, outside the cemetery as if he was evil, as if he was a Russia. And everybody said, what are you talking about? He was so mean. And the rabbi said, it was an act. He was acting. He wanted to be a secret tzaddik. He knew if he gave so much money every week and everybody knew they'd treat him differently. He didn't want to be treated special. In fact, he was treated poorly. He was treated like a mean, bad man. And he knew in his heart he was a tzaddik, but he didn't want anybody to know because he was so humble. And sometimes the rabbi says the lesson is we don't always have to let everybody know what we're doing. And they dug the body up of the tzaddik, who they thought was a Russia, and they buried him in the best spot in the cemetery. And they made a big sign that said, here is the tzaddik of our town. What an amazing, amazing story.